Hey guys, welcome to another broadcast for the Eastwood Company. I'm Kevin Tetz, and you are watching via the internet, and it's a wonderful device. We do these live workshops all the time, several a year, and the one thing that separates this one from the last one that we did was that we've got a guest. This live stream is going to be on pinstriping, and we've got one of the best guys on the planet, Mr. Rick Harris. Rick, thank you so much for being a part of our little deal.
Thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely.
This will be fun.
It's awesome, and I've been a fan of yours for a long time. And before we get into it, I want to tell people about how I first heard about Rick Harris. I was a manager at a body shop, and we had a car come in. It was a fourth-gen Camaro, black car, and of course, you know, front-end collision damage, and there was this pinstripe on it that was just laser straight, and it was a 1/16 of an inch. It looked like just a taste under, and it was two colors. And of course, we did the estimate on the car, and by the time I'm talking to the adjuster, and I said, this is a hand lettered car. It's a hand striped car, so I need an extra budget for that. So, you know, sure, we worked that all. And when we got it in, got it done, got it inspected, I looked down the quarter panel, and it says beautiful pinstripe, and it says Harris. I could barely see it, and you signed your work. And that was the first time that I was exposed to, and this was early 90s, probably 91 or 92. And we called you, and you said, I'm up in Charlotte, and you were striping NASCARs at the time, and you could, so we had to make an appointment with you. And
I actually painted a couple of trucks while I was up there for a guy named John Neimanschar.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had fun.
That
didn't work out.
It didn't.
I went up there to get rich and famous, and came back poor and obscure. So, one of them deals, you know.
Well, it's one of those things where it's stuck in my head for a long time. And after that, my awareness of Rick Harris art has been growing and growing and growing. And you do fantastic work,
Thank
sir.
you.
And
Thank you. I enjoy what I do.
Well, and obviously you do, and you see the need in passing it on. And you do classes, correct?
Yes, I do. We do classes a couple times a year down at Plaza Art. Try to get some kids involved to keep the art going, because stripers are dying off all the time, and they're taking their art with them and their skills, and I just want to pass it on.
Yeah.
Got to keep it going.
Yeah, we got to keep it going. And hey, if you want to hear a little bit more about Rick Harris' history, we did a podcast interview that's now available on YouTube. Just do a search for Rick Harris interview on the Eastwood podcast, or go to the podcast site on iTunes. We can still get that interview, which is very popular, by the way. So,
thank you. It was fun.
I'm tickled that you're here, and the best thing about this is I get to look over your shoulder and get a lesson on striping. So I'm stoked, man.
You're going to be holding a brush before it's over with.
No, I'm ready.
I promise you.
I'm ready. So, I don't know. I was going to ask you all about the history and the origin of pinstriping. You know, how long, since the horseless carriage days, have vehicles been striped, right?
Striping goes way, way, way back. Buggies were striped before horseless carriages came around.
Right.
They were doing the wheels, they were doing the bodies, anything that people rode in, they would decorate them up. Stagecoach.
Yeah.
The old Wild West stagecoach
That's
was
true.
striped up and lettered up, and Wells Fargo and all that.
Yeah.
And they were doing the wheels and the bodies and everything, but they weren't doing designs much. They were doing straight line stuff, and Henry Ford striped all the wheels on the T models with a circle in the middle, a circle on the outside, and each spoke had a little Y on it.
I remember this, yeah.
I would not want that job, because you're doing 1,000 wheels a day.
Yeah.
But every car had a striped wheel, and that was just part of the deal. But Von Dutch came along in the early 50s and did the first design, freehand design, and it caught on, and everybody liked it and started copying his stuff, and so now everybody does it. And the whole deal got started with Kenneth Howard in the early 50s, and he called himself Von Dutch. And he's kind of the godfather of the striping movement, really and truly.
Yep, and truly an icon in the industry, and a wonderful artist. But it wasn't just pinstriping that he did, right?
He made pistols from scratch. He made knives from scratch. He did a little bit of everything. Did lettering, movie props, you name it. Did a car for the Reavers with Steve McQueen. Did a lot of stuff.
Yeah, very cool.
He was a very talented man.
So,
very talented.
a well-rounded
striping
artist.
is just a part of what he did.
Yeah.
You know? But that's what everybody remembers him by.
Yeah.
It was the striping designs and all the stuff.
Well, he sure made his mark on custom painting, didn't he?
Oh, yeah. The flying eyeball.
Yep.
He's created that, and
Yep.
everybody is still doing a flying eyeball.
Absolutely,
even
absolutely,
today.
yeah. Well, a lot of people get intimidated, just like when I try and coach people on how to paint their own car with my Paint Education DVDs. People are intimidated until they figure out that it's just simple steps. And now this is painting a car, but I wanted to ask you, you teach classes.
Yeah.
Is this something that people can catch on to fairly
Sure,
easily?
absolutely.
Well,
I mean, I have people that start the class on a Saturday never having held a striping brush before. By the end of the day, they're comfortable with it.
yeah,
They're making designs, and they can see that practice will make them better, and they can get a handle on it, you know.
yeah,
It's just a brush.
Yeah.
I mean, I tell them, don't be scared of a little brush. It's not going to hurt you.
uh-huh,
But it's just brush and paint, but you've got to get your brain and your hand connected
yep,
to make it flow.
yep.
And, I mean, anybody can do it with a little practice. It's
Well-
not that hard.
You heard it from Rick Harris. You guys can learn this stuff. So,
I'm going to have you striping before it's over with.
okay, I hear you
gonna-
say that, and
you're
I'm
gonna
afraid.
hold a brush.
I'm scared to
and you're
death.
No, you can do it.
But,
You can
okay.
do it.
Well, let's get started here. First of all, I wanted to show this panel off. This is absolutely beautiful, man.
Thank you. Yeah,
Uh,
this was when I was an instructor at the Nashville Auto Diesel College. This was one of the things that we had the students do. We had them do a little chrome. In my class, I let them do the V8.
Yeah.
And we hand cut this. It was not a computer cut mask. That was hand cut with an X-Acto knife.
Wow.
And so every student did that on a panel, and I just saved all of mine from the class, and I finished it up by adding a stripe to it and clear coated it. But that was one of our panels that we did at school.
Well, it's
That
beautiful,
was,
man.
That was really a lot of fun. I had a lot of kids in the airbrush class that did very well with it.
Yeah. Now, did you choose these colors, or did students do this?
Sometimes I let them pick.
Yeah.
You know, I try to give them as much, let their input reflect on how the product ended up. And sometimes they picked and sometimes I did. It sort of depends on the class. But I think in this case, I picked the colors, and we did. The marbleizer was a different color in the center, and we pulled it with saran wrap.
Yeah.
We taught them that little trick. But we had a lot of fun with it.
Very cool. Well, one of the things I like the most about your work in particular is that you choose colors from your palette that I would never even consider. And I've talked to a couple of guys that they know your work, and they don't even try and suggest colors to you when you're doing a job. So what speaks to you? How do you plan colors on a job?
It depends on the vehicle. I mean, if some guy's got a real radical airbag pickup
Yeah.
with 20s on it, and he's got a wild paint job, he's going to like wild striping
Yeah.
and wild colors. If it's a brand new Cadillac and it's an old lady driving it, we ain't going to put wild colors on her car. We're going to do the interior colors and keep it real subtle and simple. It depends on the vehicle and the individual.
Yeah.
I did a Harley recently and put some pink on it because it's a lady that rides it. She wanted pink on her bike.
Yep.
And it looks fine for her. Some guy may not want to ride it, but the bike had pink, gray, and black on a pearl white bike. And it's really pretty together.
Yeah.
But it looked like her. you know.
Yeah.
And she came in and said, here's the colors I want.
That's interesting.
So it made it work.
That
yeah.
you draw personality from the vehicle and the vehicle
Exactly,
owner. Yeah.
exactly, yeah. Because sometimes they've got a favorite color that they've got to have on their vehicle, and some of them work and some of them don't, you know. But I try to use their input as much as possible.
Yeah.
I mean, they got to be happy with it, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
we want
for
them
sure.
to be comfortable going down the road.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I've put some weird colors together before, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. You just have to. I've washed it off before, and like, that ain't it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, I try to let the customer pick.
Yeah.
I think it's more fun that way.
Well, they.
I want them to be happy. I mean,
Well,
it's
they have a
their-
little bit of ownership in it too.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, this thing, you buy a new vehicle, you're stuck with it for a while, right?
Yeah, no
So
doubt.
you want to make it look good.
Yeah. Well, speaking of paint, Eastwood sells one-shot paint. It's not the only striping paint out there, but let's
No.
talk about one-shot and some of the other options
One
that are out
shot,
there.
it's been around. I mean, that's the paint I started with 45 years ago.
Yeah, and most people that know pinstriping know about one-shot.
It's still being used. Hand-painted lettering is coming back, big time.
That's nice to
on
hear.
trucks. They're still using one shot. It can be catalyzed. You can put a hardener in it, 10% hardener,
Yeah.
90% paint, and you can clear coat over it, but I recommend if you do that, let it dry overnight
Right.
before you urethane clear it so it won't lift it.
Okay.
Makes it more durable even if you don't clear over it. you can catalyze it and make it more durable.
Right, and a catalyst, as you guys know, cross-links and it turns into something stronger. Yeah.
So, and you can use the hardener from the clear coat that's going over the top of it. You can put that hardener in it, and it works just fine.
So, if you're doing that, if you don't have the one-shot hardener, just for the viewers that are watching, for how much hardener do you put in? A couple of drops?
10%.
10%?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah.
Some guys pallet the hardener into the paint as they're using it, because if you mix up a batch of paint with the hardener in it,
It'll
you
kick.
know what happens to it later on. It's gone. And so what you don't use, you waste, because it kicks off in the can, it's done. Yeah, you can use the hardener that is in the clear, and it works just fine.
Right. And this is lettering enamel. But you've got some other brands here. These are urethanes. You've got House of Color and Custom Shop.
A lot of people that are doing Harley-Davidsons are, of course, clear coating over everything.
Yeah.
The leaf work, their striping, whatever they're doing. And these are base coats that can be cleared literally within an hour.
Okay. So
you stripe it, you don't have to put a hardener in it. Yeah. You can pour the paint back in the can when you get through, let it dry 45 minutes or an hour, put your clear coat on, you're done.
Yeah.
The advantage of this, in my opinion, is the pearl and the metallic colors that are available.
Right.
These guys, Custom Shop has 50 different colors, and some of them are outstanding. They've got beautiful gold metallics and all that kind of stuff. And House of Color's been around too for a long time. They have about 24, 26 colors. But Custom Shop has 50, and I've used some of the prettier ones, and they've got some purple pearls and green pearls and stuff that are just magnificent. And they offer 3 different degrees of hardener, too, for the temperature range that you're working in, and that's important. If it dries too fast in the brush, you're constantly washing the brush out and reloading and all that kind of stuff. So you want to slow it down. I recommend using the hardener for the temperature with the one-shot high temp, obviously summertime.
Right, so it's going to slow it down. Absolutely does.
It slows the paint down. Now, some people use turpentine, mineral spirits, lacquer thinner. They use them, whatever's available. This is better because it's not harmful to the paint, number one. It reduces it without destroying it. Lacquer thinner cooks the enamel so hard that it flattens it out within 6 months when it's on the car. But anyway, use the reducer for the temperature. Obviously, in the winter, you're not going to use high temp reducer. You're going to use low temp. But anyway, it works better to use a reducer made for the product.
Absolutely. Well, you're working within a family of components that are designed to work together. It's compatible.
You get used to it.
Yeah.
And then it works the same every time.
Right.
I hate stuff that's constantly changing. It works today and it doesn't work tomorrow. You can't do that. So I always use their reducer. I had good results with it.
We'll talk about brushes in a little bit when we actually get to use your brushes, but these are Mack brushes. It's kind of an industry standard with the Mack brushes, correct?
Mack is still made in Michigan, and there's lots of different versions of a Mack available now, and I'll show you a couple of them when we get into the paint. Mack still makes, in my opinion, the best all-around striping brush that there is. There's some other brushes that some people are using. The European brushes are still good for straight line stuff. The German brushes were always good straight line brushes, but they weren't so good for doing the little tight designs. Mack makes a lot of different brushes, and I'll show you a couple of them when we get into it, but that's still the best thing going.
Well, it's the best thing going, and I'm excited for you to share with our viewers some of the tweaks that you've got for your brushes, some Rick Harris tweaks that you've got on.
I modify some a little bit.
Well, you know what? That's all right. It just suits your style. But there's one thing here that's not a brush. Some people call it a cheater stripe. It's the Beugler wheel. Now, you can get this from the Eastwood company as well, but there's different size tips. Some people think this is cheating on striping, but we were talking about this earlier, and you're saying that this can be used for a completely different purpose, so it actually can complement your brushes on a different type of vehicle.
Well, you can't do a design with it very well, but if you got a boat trailer that you want to stripe, or a horse trailer, or a flatbed truck with the wooden stakes sticking up out of it, this is a great tool for that. Anything that has an edge where you can just hang the roller and roll it, like a boat trailer always has a stripe at the top and a stripe at the bottom. They're always done with the Beugler. And pretty much anybody can use it. It takes one-shot paint. You put the one shot in here, you fill it up, you take it apart and fill it up with the paint, and it basically loads the wheel up. And as the wheel rolls, it deposits the paint, on whatever surface that you're striping on. And the wheels are different widths for different width stripes, and it works okay. It works okay. I wouldn't want to do a 32 forward with it.
Right.
You know, a little more difficult. They still need to be done with a brush. But
Yeah.
for things like horse trailers and boat trailers,
Yeah.
that's the way to go.
Cool. Very good.
I've used it before. It worked very, very well. Saved
Yeah.
me a lot of time. I striped a slot car track with one of those once.
Okay. That's a lot of.
That's a lot of stripes.
Yeah.
That's 2 stripes per lane
Yeah.
in 8 colors times 8 lanes.
Wow. Okay.
So, you know, and trying to do it with a brush, I'd still be there striping.
Yeah. And these magnetic guides, they'll really work well with using this as a guide. And also, I use these for a plasma cutting fence. For a plasma torch, you can draw it alongside, you can do curves.
So you have a guide to go by?
Absolutely, yeah. But you were also talking about guys that hand letter using these as a guide as well, right?
You can. Most everybody, when they do lettering, though, they're using a maul stick, and they prop their hand up on
I
a
said
maul
lettering,
stick.
I meant hand striping. I'm just getting
Hand
confused.
striping, you can do it with this, and it works quite well because on a steel vehicle, it doesn't work too well on the new Ford pickups with the aluminum body.
No, no.
You stick it on the truck and you stripe right beside it.
Yep.
And then peel it off when you get through.
Right.
For the guys doing a whole lot of dealership work, doubles down both sides, that's a good tool.
Yep.
It's a great tool.
Very cool. All right, that kind of covers the basics. By the way, there is a Basic Strokes and Patterns DVD. It is actually a DVD produced by Mack, who makes the brushes, and this is available. But we got to talk Rick Harris into producing a line of DVDs and
We have talked
teaching
about
people.
that.
We have talked about
Yeah,
that.
we need to do that.
Absolutely.
I would love to do a demo DVD that we could sell to everybody.
Yeah. Well, let's keep considering that down the road. But let's throw some paint on here. Talk to me about what have we got here. This is obviously it's a panel.
This is an aluminum panel that we're going to practice on, and it's powder coated, so we can wash it off and wash it off and wash it off, and it won't hurt the material.
Right.
This one is a little bit thicker. It's a 60 thousandths panel. Makes it less flexible. But I want to show you some basics with the brush, how to load it, how to control it. It's all about controlling the brush. Once your mind wraps around controlling that brush, you can do anything you want to with it.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
Does that make sense?
It makes sense to me. All right. So we're talking about how to load up the brush, right?
Yes. Well, I want to show you how to hold it first.
Okay.
Brush has a top side and a bottom side. You can't stripe upside down with it. On a Mack brush, there's only 3 parts: the hair, the handle. The ferrule is the string that holds the whole 2 pieces together.
Okay.
The bump is always on the right-hand side. So if you're holding this brush properly, this is on the right.
All right.
All right, and it has a straight edge and it has a curved edge, and you obviously want the curved edge on the bottom. So we're going to load it up. We're going to mop it in really good and tight here and get a lot of paint. You want
So what does that do?
this puts as much paint in the brush as you can possibly load up in it at one time. You want it full. You can't stripe with an empty brush, so you want lots and lots of paint in it.
Gotcha.
So it's all of the hair has paint on it.
Yep.
All right. Now I finger palette, which is a nasty habit. I don't want you doing it.
Don't do it.
I pull the paint down into the hair just a little bit. When you stripe, you're going to hold the brush in those 2 fingers, and these 3 are going to support your hand. Okay? So you plant the brush, and the panel slides. The panel can't slide, it'll mess you up. But we're always going to make sure we got plenty of paint at the do business end down here.
Okay, so you're forcing the paint down into the bottom of the bristles.
Just making sure that it stays good and evenly filled, because you don't want the end to run out, because obviously if it runs out of paint, you're going to stop striping, right? Now most designs have a center that everybody calls a teardrop. See
Okay.
how that looks like a teardrop?
I do.
Well, most designs start with that basic move right there.
Okay.
Now from then you can do what you want to do pretty much. But all of Von Dutch's designs always were balanced from side to side. So whatever you do on the right side, you want to duplicate on the left side. Pick your spot, try to get them as even as you can.
And you're working from the inside outward?
Yeah, but I go back and forth to keep both sides the same as much as possible.
Okay.
And we're still working with the same brush full of paint. We hadn't reloaded it. But I'm still paleting that paint, yeah.
So somebody that doesn't want to get into the habit of finger paleting, show me how to do that.
Well, if you don't finger palette, you have to go back here every time.
Understood.
It takes more time.
Ah, okay.
If you're really in a hurry,
Yeah.
that costs you a lot of time. But we're still going. I start on the right every time, and I don't know if it's from being left-handed or just being force of habit. I just do it the same every time. But I always do the right one first, then the left side. Then we're going to come down here and we're going to cross all of this, and we try to get as close to the center as we can without actually touching it. Think you can do this?
No.
Oh, I know you can.
You make it look so easy.
A little bit of practice. A little bit of practice, and you'd be giving me a run for my money.
I don't know about that. So back to your finger thing. So if I had a pair of gloves on, I could finger palette and not worry about the exposure to the paint and all that stuff, right?
You lose a little bit of the feel. But if you didn't want to get paint on your hands, which I'll admit is a very nasty habit, and it's probably not healthy and all of that too. They took the lead out of the paint, so the paint is not as harmful as it used to be.
Right.
I never did get lead poisoning, but I had lead paint on my fingers for a long time every day.
Yeah.
But yeah, you could put a glove on and do it with a glove, and it would be about the same as far as the way the brush is working.
Right.
But that design was all done with one brush full of paint.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
With every line, you're drawn right back down into the center. Instead of stopping, that's already covered. It's not going to be any more red. Why do you draw it all the way down?
Well, more out of habit than anything, but I was always taught to go all the way to the end with every stroke, so it wouldn't show where you stopped and started.
Understood. Okay.
Sometimes if the paint is heavier where you stop, it would show. When you keep going down, it flows back in and becomes one coat. Does that make sense?
It does. Okay.
And you want a good design is continuous all the way through. You want this design to be continuous all the way through. In other words, there's no lines that are open-ended.
Yeah.
You never want to leave a line sticking out by itself because it doesn't have anywhere to go.
Yeah.
You got to make them all connect. You ready to try a shot of this?
Yes. I guess so.
All right. I'm going to wash that off. And I'm going to load this brush up, and you're going to pull your first line.
All right.
And I'm going to coach you a little bit. And Kevin, you can do this, buddy. As good as you are with everything else, this really shouldn't even be a step for you, you understand?
Well, I've always wanted to learn, so I love the fact that I'm learning from you.
Well, I want you to not be scared of it and have some fun with it. And you got to start somewhere, right?
Yep. I tell you what, if I was finger paleting like that, I would have paint all over my shop. I would have paint everywhere. I don't know how you do.
My buddies call them Ricky prints, and I do get Ricky prints on a lot of stuff, you know, and they have to, hey, I saw your fingerprint on my car, on the door. You know, well, yeah, I didn't want it on the door, but they wash it off. If you catch this paint within the first couple of hours, you can pretty much get it back off. One shot, once it's cured overnight, is pretty durable. It's very hard to get it off.
Yeah.
So you have to be careful. If you're removing it, you got to be careful how long you let it stay on, because you don't want to, you know.
Yeah.
You don't want to permanently mess something up. But it can be stripped later on. Striping can be removed, but sometimes it's a real pain to get off, especially on a new vehicle that's got a fresh paint job and all.
Well, you see vehicles that were striped in the 50s that, you know, are survivors or whatever you want to call them, and the pinstriping is, you know, maybe faded a little bit here and there, but it does hold up very well over time.
I've had striping outlast factory paint jobs.
Yeah, I don't doubt that.
On several
I've
occasions.
repaired hundreds and maybe thousands of factory paint jobs over the years.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Back when they were de-lambing so bad and the clear was coming off.
Yes.
I restriped a bunch of them, and Ford paid for it, and Chevy paid for it. And, all right, no excuses. There's your brush.
All right, so I'm left-handed like you.
Yep.
The bump to the right side.
Yep.
All right.
Hold it between those two fingers. Put these three down to support it.
Okay, so I'm just going to do a practice here.
Yep.
So is that the right hand position?
Sure. Drop the brush down a little bit in the
All right.
front.
All right, so I'm nervous about starting.
Just plant it.
All right, plant it.
Plant it and start pulling it. There you go. Watch him go, folks. Now see,
Okay.
it's not as scary as you thought it
Yeah,
was
but-
going to be, huh?
And I'm going to do something silly like that. See, it got wide there, and I knew.
What causes the width? The pressure on the brush. The harder you mash, the wider the stripe gets. The less that pressure you put on it, the narrower the stripe gets. So
Yeah.
what you did right there, you mashed it a little more.
Yes, okay.
And that's why it got wider.
All
Okay?
right.
Pull one more.
I'm going to try and do the same thing, but where it doesn't look like a cat did it.
So you have good eye-hand coordination to start out with, so this is not that difficult for
Well,
you.
that's from years of
There you go.
paint gun training. See, trying to curve the corner. I was
Right.
okay until I went around the corner.
All right.
What happened there?
When the way you keep a corner from flaring out, you have to roll the brush. And that's the hardest thing to learn to do in striping is going around like a 90-degree corner.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't roll the brush, the stripe starts out nice and thin, and it gets real fat in the turn.
Which is exactly what
And
happened to
then
me
it
down there.
thins out again. Now,
Yeah.
what it's doing, from here to here, the brush is trying to spread out.
Okay.
The hair is trying to get wider. So to keep that from happening, we're going to roll the brush to the inside of the turn. And then once we get past the turn, we're going to roll the brush back up on the blade, and the line width stays more consistent.
Yeah, yeah.
That make sense?
Can I give it a shot?
Yes, sir. Creating my competitor right here.
You're creating a fan is what you're creating, if I wasn't one already. All right, so I'm just going to do what you did here.
The hardest thing to learn in striping is tight turns. And 90-degree turns is always everybody's problem. Once you finally get past that, you can do anything with it that you want.
I see what you're talking about with the control that it gives you when just a slight roll. It's
You
not
don't
even
have- you
a
don't-
half
You
turn.
go about a fourth of a turn, and that's all you got to do.
I don't want to drag my fingers in. I want to do one more 90.